the time that your schedule would allow, other than this virus 19. So we'd like to have a full crowd, but I know it's been short lately. Ms. Meeks, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Como?
Here.
Ms. May?
Here.
Mr. Ryder?
Here.
Mr. Hicks?
Here.
Mr. McCoy?
Here.
Mr. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Manley?
Here.
Now stand, please, for the pledge. Be done by Board Member Dave Graves.
Pledge.
Our invocation will be done by Mr. Bobby Jones.
Pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. And Father, we just pray, Lord, Father, for guidance and wisdom, Lord, Father, for the school board members, for to make decisions, Lord, Father, that impact the students of our school system. Father, I just thank you so much for the guidance that you give us, for these board members, Lord, Father, for our superintendent, for the faculties and staff, Lord, Father, and all those that support the students of the parish. Father, we're just thankful for what you've done for us. Father, we pray for our country, Lord, Father, for our leaders through this time, Lord, Father, through COVID, through unrest, Lord, Father. We just pray and ask, Lord, Father, that we just act like loving people, like you want us to be, Lord, Father. We just pray for revival in this country. Father, we just pray and ask, Lord, Father, you continue to watch over us and protect us. Father, we thank you for our servicemen and women, Lord, Father, that watch over us. And Father, again, we just come to you, Lord, Father, and we just pray for wisdom and guidance. We ask your spirit in this room, Lord, Father, to assist us. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Board, look down to the minutes of our last meeting, June the 9th and through the 16th. We need a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're going to amend the agenda to add item number 11, so I need a motion and a second to amend the agenda.
I move that we'll amend the agenda as presented, adding item number 11.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Personnel report, Dr. Well, I'm sorry, we've got to approve the full agenda. I'm sorry, let me back up here. Full agenda, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Personnel report, Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. We have several new administrative appointments and announcements today, and certainly appreciate those of you who could make it to be here today also. So let me start by recognizing our new principal at George Welch Elementary, Miss Veronica Woods. Veronica, stand. Veronica's been at that school for many, many years, recently as the assistant principal, and so we're excited with the continued success that we're going to be having at George Welch under your leadership, Veronica. We also have an acting principal that Dr. Sherilyn Locke will be taking a semester of sick leave, and so our acting principal at Richwood High School will be Mr. Alvin Fields. I'm not sure if Alvin was able to make it today. This all happened yesterday, and so we're excited with the leadership that Alvin will bring to Richwood while Dr. Locke is on her sick leave. We also have Mr. Dykes that is taking a semester of sick leave, and I'm happy to announce our acting principal at Woodlawn Middle is Miss Pam Jones. Pam was actually the assistant principal at Woodlawn Middle, and we're moving up our administrative assistant there into the acting assistant principal. With all this acting, I'm expecting some really great things going on now. So our acting assistant principal for a semester at Woodlawn Middle will be Mr. Michael Armand. With Mr. Fields back to Richwood now, moving from assistant principal to acting principal, We are moving in a person for a semester into his position, which is an acting assistant principal, Richwood High School, and that'll be Miss Arkia Thomas. And Arkia was also not able to be here today, but certainly look forward to what she will be able to bring to that leadership staff there. We have a new assistant principal at West Ouachita High School. This was a position that you allowed us to open, and that is Mr. Robert Bobby Crockett. Bobby, congratulations to you. And finally, which is causing Mr. Geis a little bit more work, we opened up the Assessment and Accountability Coordinator. And so coming down to the central office as the High School Assessment and Accountability Coordinator, in addition to being our Social Studies High School Coordinator, joining our instructional team is Ms. Haley Holly. There's Haley over there. Congratulations to you, Haley. So with all of these new appointments, we do have a couple of positions that we need to open. So I'm asking permission from the board to open the assistant principal position at George Welch Elementary that Veronica previously held, and also the assistant principal position at Ouachita High School that Haley previously held.
We have a motion and a second to open up these two positions.
I so move that we open these two positions.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Very good. Thank you, board. And congratulations to all of our new appointees out there.
Moving down to item number 1, consider an approval of policy. Ms. Cynthia Osmond.
Good afternoon, Board. In your folder, you have 4 policies that were presented in June that I'm asking for approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve these 4 policies.
I so move that we approve these 4 policies.
Second.
And a second, all discussion from the audience, from the board. All in favor, yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
There is one policy that, at the bottom, that I am presenting for your consideration, and I'll ask for a vote in August.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Osmond. Item number 2, present back-to-school phase plans and distance learning, virtual school options. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Board, let me apologize before we even begin. This is going to be a little bit longer presentation than what we normally would do in here because everything is so new as we're looking at the Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 reentry into our schools, as well as a virtual instructional program option, which is totally separate from the phase-in approach that we're going to be talking about today. And so let me say this also. As we are looking at the plans to reopen our schools, understand that this is a fluid plan. Fluid meaning that it very well could change depending on actions by the governor, actions by the Department of Health and Hospitals, actions by our BESI members that actually are going to be voting and working next week to maybe send out a little bit more directives. As we've put the plan together, it has been with the understanding that it follows the guidance that has been given us from the State Department of Education, the guidance that we have received from the Department of Health and Hospitals, and also the guidance from the governor's office. And so let's look at what we're going to be seeing as Ouachita Parish begins our back-to-school plan. And I know we have some slides that Alain is going to be working as we look at this and we go through this process. And certainly, board members, if at any time you have any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me and just ask whether it's clarifying points or whatever you might need to know on this particular plan. All right. We had a survey that we actually put out. The survey was for about a 2-week period. because we did want to get the input from our parents and our community out there. And I'm very happy to say that over the 2 weeks of the survey being out, we had a total of 8,371 responses, and we actually had these broken down by the schools itself. So we took the survey and further sent it out to the schools to let the schools know how many of their parents actually went on and answered the survey and their feelings throughout the process. So I've taken some of the first slide will kind of give you by grade level how our responses actually came about. For our lower elementary, that's pre-K through second grade, we had a total of about 35% of the surveys reported back from them for 2,926 people. Also for our upper elementary, we had 2,598 folks that had children that fell within those particular grade levels. Our middle school, which is 6th through 8th grade, 3,062 results from the survey for about 36.6%. And our high school, which is 9th through 12th grade, 3,530 surveys submitted, about 42%. And so we were very pleased to see the numbers of surveys and see the responses. So I've taken just a few of these to kind of tell you and breaking it down as simply as I could to tell you what our parents are looking for, what the survey results showed. The first choice from our survey was that they would love for our students to be back 100% face-to-face on campus. That is what we're hearing from the majority of our folks. Their second choice would be for our students to come back in some form of rotating attendance if that's what we have to do. And their least likely option for returning would be the 100% virtual learning at home. And so you still have that group of parents that are not going to feel safe with returning their kids. And so later on, we're going to be talking about the Ouachita Parish Schools Virtual Instructional Program, which is a 100% online program that our teachers, our administrators, principals, coordinators have put together as an option for some of those parents who may want to be looking at that for their children. Looking at some of the returning attitudes that came from the survey is our next slide there. And this is just a feeling on the parents as they are sending their kids back to school. We see that about 57.6% of our students certainly are returning, some with a little hesitation about the actual safety and things like that that would be concerning to them. 21.6%, it's like, I'm not sure yet. We need information. And so after today, we are going to be posting all of our Phase 1, 2, and 3, as well as our virtual learning program on our Facebook and on our website so that all of our people will be able to see what the plans are, and then they're going to be able to make an educated decision on how best they will be able to bring their kids back into our schools. But you can also look there to see the various colors and what they insinuate. One of the orange part, 12.8, I'll wait to see how the opening of school progresses. And that's something that until we know what phase that we're in, we're not sure how it's going to progress. We're not sure exactly where we're going to be within the various phase that the governor has issued or put out there, for us to actually start school in. But that is just a little bit about the attitudes of our parents and what they're looking for as we are looking to get ready. So let me just give you a brief synopsis of a letter that I have that's going to be going out. It'll also be posted with all of our other information. We have been working really hard for the past 3 to 4 weeks on trying to figure out, how we're going to logistically bring our students back. And we're looking at classroom layouts and assignments and student meal service and transportation, online options, educational options that are out there. And again, we've taken into consideration what the State Department is telling us, what the Department of Health and Hospitals is telling us, what the Governor's Office is telling us, and also now the surveys from what our parents have actually presented to us. So as we are preparing for a safe start, let me just kind of assure you that some of our priorities is our maintenance and custodial staff, first of all, have already taken quite a few measures just for cleaning our schools, just for making sure that they are ready. And we're doing that not only in our schools, but even in our central office and things like that. As far as intense cleaning, we'll be doing that on our buses once we start transporting our children every day. Before they get on the bus in the mornings and after they get off, we're going to be cleaning between drop-offs in the morning and drop-offs in the afternoon. Classrooms, anything that is going to be a high-profile area, doorknobs, desktops, things that students would normally touch or what have you, will be cleaned between the transitions of our students within the school. Child nutrition is something that we're certainly looking at. Our school food service, Ms. Jolene Carrero, her cafeteria managers, will be working with the principals. I will tell you, one of the things that we've heard from the governor and that we are finding out that as we do our reopening, one size does not necessarily fit all, because my grade configurations, my schools that are out there, all have their uniqueness about them. And so we've put the guidelines out, and we're asking our principals and their leadership teams to kind of put a plan together based on the guidelines that we have that are going to be going out there. One of the things that we can do to eliminate this is frequent hand washing, making sure that we're using hand sanitizers. And so we're going to be encouraging that quite often. One of the questions was, in some of the meetings I've been in, do you have to have hot water in order for the hand washing to be effective? And the question was, or the answer was no, you really don't. As long as you are formulating bubbles, it is the bubbles that is actually killing that virus that is out there. And so I see our teachers teaching our children, and we do this in pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade anyway, that you want to make as many bubbles on that hand washing as you can in order for us to be able to kill the diseases that's out there. We will be supplying digital thermometers that we're going to be using, and these are the handhelds that they're non-contact thermometers that we'll be using the forehead, and we've actually bought about, Bobby, would you say about 1,250 of those that will be going to every first period homeroom teacher's classroom. And so as our children get to school, they'll be going in, picking up their grab-and-go lunch, and then they'll be going to the classroom, and within the first 15 to 20 minutes, our teachers will be monitoring their temperature as they arrive into their classes. We are going to be asking our parents, before they even send their child to school, that they do their due diligence in monitoring also. Please don't send a child that's running fever, a child that has been sick maybe the night before or what have you. We want them to be healthy when they get there, because part of what our plan is an isolation area for any child that may come in with a fever or even symptoms that we're going to have our school nurses be checking, but then we're going to be asking parents to come back and pick them up. So certainly we want our parents to be monitoring any symptoms prior to that. Kind of the temperature reading that we're looking at, and this is dictated by the State Department of Health, is any child with a fever of 100.4 or greater. They're the ones that we're feeling like they don't need to be there. So what are some things that parents can do right now? This is still part of the letter that will be going out. We will be requiring face coverings for our 3rd through 8th grade students, as well as our teachers and all support employees and principals and adults that come onto our campus. And I will tell you, I'm 6 foot away from anyone out there right now is the reason that I'm actually not wearing my mask. And so we're going to do our very best to make sure, and we talked with our principals yesterday to make sure that you don't want to be within 6 feet of anyone and not have your mask on. And as a teacher is trying to deliver instruction within the classroom, sometimes it gets a little bit muffled, and teachers may have a harder time understanding what's going on as they are teaching. So if they are greater than 6 feet, if they want to bring that mask down where a student will be able to understand them better, then we're not going to say that. But in school, you never know when that kid's going to get up and come to the teacher. So the mask has got to be in the face vicinity, and if a student is heading toward them, the mask has got to go back on. And certainly we want our students to be able to do the same thing. And so for our parents, I would certainly encourage you to get some of these masks and let your children start wearing them intermittently throughout the day. Certainly if they're out in public, it would be just a good safety measure anyway. Masks are set up to protect the other person, not necessarily to protect the one that's wearing it, but to protect these other folks that that's out there that very well could be exposed. Another thing is I want our parents to know that be looking for information coming from our schools. They're going to be giving you some class schedules and transportation information and school lunch program and school supplies and things that we would normally start the school year with. So be looking for that. Also, we're going to be posting everything we have on our website, opsb.net, as well as our Ouachita Parish Schools Facebook site, just to kind of let our folks know this is the information that we have out there. Be looking for all of this. And then I'm going to be talking about the distance learning a little bit later, but I think that we're ready to look. This was not as simple as you might think, for the fact that we weren't putting together a plan. We were actually putting together 4 plans. You have to have one for phase 1. We have to have a plan for phase 2, and then we have to have a plan for phase 3. And I will tell you, phase 2 and 3, there are a lot of similarities, and a lot of this is based on the guidelines that the state has actually put out there for us. So let's look at phase 1 first. The phase 1 state guidelines for bus operations is 1 child per seat in every other seat. Well, that will tell you real fast that we probably won't be driving and riding a lot of buses because we won't be having a lot of students at school. And so with the maximum group size of no more than 10 people, that would be 9 students and 1 teacher in a classroom to maintain the 6-foot spacing to the greatest extent possible. And so as we look at the state guidelines also for frequent hand washing, the face covering, the symptom monitoring are pretty much the same through phase 1, 2, and 3. The athletics, there is no high-risk sports, and you're refraining from contact within phases 1 and 2, but athletics actually changes in phase 3, and so I'll point that out to you when we get there. So what is Ouachita Parish going to be doing? What are our procedures for phase 1? The first one is grades pre-K through 12 will be receiving virtual. Actually, they're going to be receiving online distance education. And so we will do the very best that we possibly can to furnish the devices. We don't know that we're going to have all the connectivity there. We think that that is coming, but it may not be there yet. And so we're going to have very few limitations as to what we can actually do, only having a few students in school. The priority students that would be coming to school would be our students that would be considered our special needs students that really are needing any of this extra attention that we possibly could have. And most of these would be within our self-contained classrooms. And so they would be our priority for being at school in a face-to-face environment during phase 1. All of our other pre-K through 12 would pretty much be at home, and we would be doing a distance learning. What we're going to do in distance learning is utilizing a Google Meet, which is synchronous. Google Meet means that we're training teachers now on this. They're going to actually be getting face-to-face instruction from their teachers. We would be requiring our faculties and staffs to be at schools, and they would be transporting this instruction via their Chromebook to our students at school using the same methods. We also will be using Google Classroom. Google Classroom is asynchronous. It means that's where we're going to actually have our teachers be posting assignments and posting videos and posting things that students can actually go on and look to see what the student has put out there in order for them to be able to work on assignments and also to turn in the assignments. So even in phase one, our teachers will be taking attendance throughout the course of what phase one is. Now keep in mind, we're talking about a phase that we hope never comes back, okay? We're currently in phase two, but there is a plan out there for phase one if it goes back to that. And so what I'm telling you or talking to you right now is something that we are not anticipating happening, but are preparing for in case it does happen. We will institute our emergency feeding program once again, where we'll have select locations where parents will be able to go by and pick up lunches. If we ever, and I think that we'll be given much more notice if we're moving back to phase one than what we were given in March of this past year. And we'll be tweaking and adding more information into this if we see the direction going in that way. But our emergency feeding program will be, we may be feeding Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and giving meals and breakfast and lunch for 2 days at a time. And so those are things that we'll be working through and working out in phase one. Hopefully, not hopefully, but if we do go to phase one, I certainly hope that it is after October, November, December, because we are anticipating our Chromebooks, some 6,600 Chromebooks, will be with us by December of this year. And so if there is a second surge and it comes later in the year, we will be able to put this Chromebook in every student's hand, and we are working on connectivity hotspots at all of our high schools where parents can actually take their child in and they can upload whatever they might need and then take the Chromebook back home and actually work on lessons without having to have connectivity, but just being able to upload the information that's out there. And so that is what phase one is looking like. Any questions before I move on Ouachita Parish's plan for phase one?
Dr., 6,600 Chromebooks that we're gonna be ordering, that will give each child a Chromebook in Ouachita Parish, would give us 19,000.
Every child and every classroom teacher. Okay. Yes. And the Chromes have our Chromebooks are touch screen, but you can also use a mouse if you wanted to, but they're touch screen and they have the camera built in, so they would be able to go on and teachers be able to check roles, see if they're there and participating. And but this is what we're calling our online distance education. So if we use technology at home during the phases, it's online distance education. If a parent elects to go with the virtual program, that is completely 100% virtual program that is completely separate from what phases we're looking at. We'll have teachers that are set up for that program that I'll be sharing with you, okay?
I'm out to understand that currently we have around 11,000 Chromebooks already in our possession.
Mr. Monroe, you want to answer that?
14,500.
We have 14,500, we ordered over 6,000, so that'll give us over 20,000.
That's correct.
Are we obligated to share some of those with students who are outside of the district, such as private schools, parochial schools, or?
I think I can answer that. The private school, parochial schools that participate in this program were also given part of the CARES money to use to buy, and that's pretty much what they were told, that you need to make sure that you're one-to-one before you spend your money on anything else. So I don't foresee that being something that we would have to do, just because they have the money to be able to do that also.
So the money went to them directly?
That is correct.
Flow through.
Well, it came through us, and they got a percentage of the money, and I think the
Flow through.
4 private parochials that would fall within Ouachita Parish got about $365,000 that they're actually sharing, depending on how many students they had at their schools.
Just a couple more questions.
Okay?
What if a child came to school without a mask? Would we be in the posture of providing them with the mask?
We do. We're actually going to, Department of Homeland Security has already met with us, and they are literally, they have had truckloads of masks and gloves, and this is not only for students, but for employees also. Some shields that we have access to for our cafeteria ladies, hand sanitizers. They have 4-ounce hand sanitizers, 2 for every child, that we will be using to sanitize hands and things like that within the schools. And so our parents should not have to buy those if they don't want to. I know that, I have one that I'm wearing from Ouachita Junior High that is very comfortable to me, and this is one that I like because I can breathe through it a little bit better. So I think that our schools will probably be selling some of their own, marketing some of that for their own school-related.
Maybe I need to make some too for 2 other questions.
Okay?
What if a kid refuses to wear a mask? I think that's a bridge that we need to probably.
Well, if they refuse to wear a mask, until the department comes in and says they are an absolute requirement, then we have other options out there for them, and it may be that they may want to do the virtual learning program that we have. And some of those that may refuse, and I've told my principals, our goal is to get our students to school. I want them at school. And so we're going to, and if they need to have, if they have their social distancing and they just have it like this to start with, but when anyone comes around that they're covering up to protect other people, that's what we're going to be trying to teach and encourage our not only our staff and our students, but also we have teachers that I know, because I've gotten emails already, that may have COPD. They may have asthma problems, and it may be that this would restrict too much oxygen coming for them to be able to do. We're not going to require them to have a mask to be able to do that. I don't want to put any employee or student in jeopardy of this causing more harm than if they were wearing the mask.
I guess on that mask thing, I noticed that in here, it says that they should wear masks that are school appropriate. Just asking, how do we define school appropriate?
Where are you seeing that?
I thought I saw it somewhere in here where kids wear a mask.
Did it say when appropriate?
Okay.
Masks are going to be really critical in transition times also. We don't have masks for our kindergarten or pre-K through 2nd grade, and it was actually 5th through 12th, but then the state came back and said 3rd through 12th. And so in doing that, that made us adjust our plans a little bit on what we have to do. Oh, masks that are school appropriate. I understand what you're saying now. I wrote that. That means that as we are getting into a political year, we are not allowing any mask or any attire or anything that would be political in nature. And that's just part of the policy that is passed within our school system.
I do appreciate that. That's why I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that we brought that out.
I know what I got you now.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, any other questions that you might have in phase one? Yes, Eileen.
Can we just clarify, because we have some confusion on our viewers, that in phase one, we're not in the building wearing masks, and in the other phases, it's grade 3 through 12. Because they're
Thank you.
thinking it was 3 through 8, so we want to make sure it's 3 through 12.
3 through 12, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just to make sure, I know you said, excuse me, Homeland Security will be providing hand sanitizers and masks and gloves. Could you go back to parents not having to bear that financial burden of trying to get these supplies for their students?
Certainly. We have been in contact with Homeland Security. I know that Bobby has been working with our GOSEF regional folks, and they asked us if we had storage space for all of this that's coming into our region, and we are doing our best to try to help them with what we can on being able to store these supplies. But Bobby, do you want to comment on that?
My understanding is from Homeland Security is that they will provide 2 cloth masks for every student in the parish. So, and I think they had passed those out earlier during in the early part of the pandemic, would be a mask similar to that.
Is Lowe's still happening?
We haven't
Well,
heard anything.
I guess my question too, to the superintendent as well, was that if a kid refuses to wear a mask or does not have a mask but comes to school without one, will there be any punitive measures in place, or should there be any punitive measures in place?
And that's something that I really don't want to go there yet, but we would probably make sure that that person is 6 foot away from everybody throughout the entirety of the day or more. So we would have to ensure other people's safety, that we would certainly be following that strict limit of 6 foot safe distancing on that.
Doc, go ahead. I thought
But in reference to Homeland Security, I think I heard Ken say that each child will be afforded at least 2 masks. However, as we all know, that those who have kids, grandkids, kids have a tendency to lose things. And if they should lose them, and the parents don't have the financial ability to replace them, will we have a measure in place to just provide them with a mask?
Yeah, I think we're going to do our best to be able to do that. I think that you're going to see a lot of parents that are going to make sure that their child has their own mask anyway. So even with 2 per student, you may have half our kids that elect that they may want to have their own school mask or what have you, as opposed to some that may be furnished through Homeland Security. We do plan on having masks at our bus stops as children that are getting on the buses. If they don't have them, we'll be furnishing those to them that don't have their masks as they get on the buses coming to schools.
Will the temp checks be done
Homeroom
at the bus or at the school?
Homeroom class. Homeroom class.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, are we ready to move to phase 2? Y'all, phase 1 was the easy one. Phase 2 gets a little bit tougher now, okay? So let's look at phase 2 and the guidelines from the state. For bus operations, it's 50% of manufacturer's capacity. The maximum group size are no more than 25 people, including a teacher, staff member in a classroom. Individuals maintaining 6 feet of spacing to the greatest extent possible. And we've gotten a little leeway on this that, it could probably be 4 to 5 feet if that's the best that or the greatest extent that we could do. Frequent hand washing, face covering, symptom monitoring are all the same as it would be in phase 1. And athletics is also the same as it would be for phase 1. So phase 2 is going to look a little bit different for us. And all of this, and I keep reminding you, this is fluid. This is things that can change depending on, what comes down from the state or even what our ability for capacity might be. And so what we're looking at, our goal for phase 2 is to serve all of our pre-K through 5th grade students in our buildings on a daily basis, maintaining static groups of 25 or less, including our teacher in the classroom, to the greatest extent possible. So when we talk about static groups in these elementary schools, these students will be pretty much with each other all day long. Not pretty much. They're going to be with each other all day long. If they leave out of the classroom and they go to the and get a grab-and-go lunch, then they're doing this as a group. If they go to recess, they're going to be in an area on the playground with just their class. So if we had 3 second-grade classes outside on the playground at one time, we are not allowing the students to intermingle. And it may be that the principals will do a rotating from one part of the playground to the next for various grades that might be out there. Or they may schedule them a different time to be able to go out. So our kids will be having recess. We want them outside. We want them running and playing and being able to burn off a little bit of that energy. And will they have to have masks on while they're having recess? No, they will not. So this is a time for them to be kids and to be able to enjoy a little bit of what school's about also. I know as a kid I really liked the recesses when I was in school. And so I think that was a misconception that may have been out there with some of our parents. But yes, they will stay in their static group even during this time. For our middle and high school students, we're going to be serving them with distance online learning as well as on-campus learning in an alternating schedule such as an AB schedule. Let me kind of explain to you what we're looking at for an AB schedule, and this would be for 6th through 12th grade. 6th through 12th grade. An example of an AB schedule would be students whose last name, and I'm just going to throw this out there, this could change from school to school, that last name begins with A through L. They might be on the A schedule where they would be attending face-to-face instruction on Mondays, Wednesdays, and alternating Fridays. If their last name began with M through Z, they might be on a B schedule where their face-to-face school would be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and alternating Fridays. Okay? And so, just to kind of recap, our pre-K through 5 static groups at school all day long, doing social distancing to the greatest extent possible. 6th through 12th grade would be AB schedule. They would be getting face-to-face on the day that they're at school. The day that they're at home, they will be using Google Classroom. I don't know that I'm going to be expecting my teachers to do Google Meet. Remember, Google Meet is their face-to-face with their students. They're actually seeing, but there will be assignments on Google Classroom. In phase 2, for those students who do not have connectivity, our teachers will be able to send on that day off a hard copy packet of what they would be getting online during the day that they're not at school. And then if it's an A group, they'd be coming back to school on Wednesday, and then we would start a new lesson. Now, some concerns we have here, I think our high schools have worked out a block schedule or modified block schedule where our teachers are going to be able to teach students instead of 50 minutes a day, they may be teaching them 90 to 100 minutes a day within that block. So they're pretty much going to be on pace for our scope and sequence on what we're trying to accomplish. One of the reasons that they're looking at this option, and this is certainly at the discretion of the high schools, is because they would only have in a block or modified block 4 transitions during the day, which means they would change classes 4 times instead of a 7-period, 7-changing class schedule. Because we know that as we're having our kids come back in, trying to keep them from congregating is going to be one of our challenges. But our principals will be working out, and staff will be working out their means of being able to get them to be able to do this. At our middle schools and high schools in phase 2, we will not have more than 50% of 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders there at any one time. Okay? So that's a plus. So let's take West Monroe High School. They have 2,200 kids. It's a huge campus. The campus capacity would probably be 3,500 to 4,000 that we could actually have. At 50% capacity, we're probably going to have between 11 and 1,200 people there on any given day. And so half of their kids would be there one day, the other half would come the next day, and stay with this schedule throughout the course of Phase 2. As I've said, we will be using grade level, Tier 1 high-quality curriculum with our Google Meet and Google Classroom. Things don't change a lot. Face coverings will still be required. Students with severe disabilities in grades 6 through 12 will certainly have the opportunities to be at school daily, face-to-face. These are our students who we really want to be able to help as much as we can. The one-to-one student-to-device ratio is going to be utilized for our students who are on the AB schedule. We will be taking attendance each day. For our pre-K through 5th graders, attendance will be taken face-to-face because they'll be at schools. For our 6th through 12th grade attendance, it's going to be a combination of face-to-face as well as our alternating AB schedules, because we can post things on Google Classroom, and then our teachers will be able to see who's actually gone into that Google Classroom and signed in. So they can sign in with their attendance, which means they now have access to the materials that have been put out there for them. We know that the bus capacity is going to be an issue, and this is going to be one of our biggest questions as we're looking at the 50% capacity. For a 66-passenger bus, we can have 33 students on that bus at one time. For a 72-passenger bus, 36 students. So we are putting a huge plea out there to our parents that in order for us to make this work within Phase 2, we need you to bring your students to school, if at all possible, but not only bring them, but to pick them up also at the end of school. So we're going to be heavily depending on our parents to do everything they can to be able to do this, to help us with transportation. Where we can run double routes, we're going to do the very best we can in running those. And where we can do some staggered arrival or dismissal times, we're going to incorporate that also. We know that we have some schools when you get into the rural area, and I'll speak of West Ouachita right now, where we have buses that serve West Ouachita High School, Calhoun Middle School, Central Elementary School, and Calhoun Elementary. So we have 4 schools in a very large geographical area that it would be impossible to do double routes on. Some of these routes may take anywhere from an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes to run already. And so certainly we're going to be reaching out to our parents to do everything they can. And I know we have quite a few already that, that bring their children to school, but we're also going to be asking them to pick their children up. I hope that our businesses that are out there and our employers out there will understand that, we're doing everything we can to keep our kids in school so that our parents can go to work. And so that's one of the things that we'll be looking at. As far as the meal service for our breakfast, as students get to school, they will be doing a grab-and-go breakfast, which means it'll be prepared for them. We know that we can't put more than 25 within a cafeteria. We could put 25 in one area and 25 in another area. And so a lot of our meals will be, for our upper elementary especially, will probably be in classrooms. We are going to try to save the cafeterias for our lower elementary, the pre-K, kindergarten, and 1st grade, just because they're still trying to manipulate how you open that milk and what you do with things like that. And so we're looking at that, and Ms. Carrero and her staff will be working with our principals on their breakfast and also the lunch. The transition for lunch will also be we're going to try to furnish some hot meals as well as salads, as well as some sandwiches and things like that. And so we will be doing basically the same thing during lunch. Whereas schools may have had 2 or 3 lunch periods, they may end up going with more lunch periods now in order to be able to transition kids in and out and trying to have other means of where students will be able to take their lunches and to eat those. Our students that are on the 6th through 12th grade AB schedule will be provided breakfast and lunch for those distance learning days that they would be at home. And so if they're on an A schedule, at the end of the day or somewhere in that day, they're going to be given lunch if they're at a CEP school. Now, if they're a paying student, they would still have to pay for the meals, but they would be giving the meals for Tuesday, breakfast and lunch, that they would not be at school. And so we're doing everything we can within our means to make sure that our students are going to be fed just like they would if they were at school every day. We certainly will be striving to achieve our 6-foot spacing in our classrooms, and again, that's to the greatest extent possible. In talking with our regional health people today, we had a conference call, and I just asked the question. I said, what if I have 24 kids in a class or even 25 kids in a class and a teacher? What are y'all going to do? What is your recommendation? And they said, that's fine as long as you're trying to enforce the mask and also making sure that they are as far apart as they possibly can be. In our principals meeting, we've asked our principals to go back and talk with our teachers and let them know that teachers like stuff, and they like stuff all around and for everything to look great. Well, we want classrooms, we want desks and students in the classroom. So if that means moving some of the stuff that's out there in order to provide more distancing for our kids, then that's what we're certainly going to be encouraging for our teachers to do. Back to the sanitation, if kids are moving from one classroom to the next, the desk, the doorknobs, the highly touched surfaces will be sanitized between one group going out and another group coming in. And then again, temperatures will be checked daily by our first period teachers. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at within our phase 2. And so at this time, I'll take any questions that you might have with phase 2.
When we start school, are we going to be in phase 2?
We are hoping and praying. What we were really hoping for was phase 3. But I'm thinking that if I were guessing, I would guess that we're probably going to be in phase 2.
Do we know the date? Is it like?
July 24th is when the announcement is supposed to be made as to what the next phase is going to look like. And we've not gotten, I think with the governor's address yesterday and the fact that we're not going in the direction that we probably need to be going, I don't see him moving us into a phase 3. And again, that's Don Coker's opinion. That is not anything official whatsoever. But the purpose of these phases is to be prepared for whatever phase we're in once school begins.
We're going to start school on August 12th?
We are. Our calendar has not changed. Other questions you might have on phase 2?
I saw something that said 6th grade may be on campus if possible.
That was a pipe dream of mine, I think, because I started looking at, I would love to be able to get my 6th graders in a static group in the middle schools and try to have them there just because of the transition from elementary to middle. Excuse me. With the transportation issues and once we know how many of our parents are going to be driving and picking up their kids, if we have that capacity, those would be, my priority would be my students with any type of learning disability first, and then 6th grade next for middle and high school is how we would prioritize greater capacity to be able to bring more kids in phase 2.
Doc, if a parent refuses or has a major concern on sending their child back to school under phase 2, you said that we would provide, instruction for them, mainly on a virtual setting.
We do. We have an option that I'll be presenting after we get through with our phases.
Do we need to, will that parent need to be in touch with the principal at a certain time period to kind of get this set up?
I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about it.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
That's okay. I'm just trying to stay within our phases before we go to the virtual. And y'all, I apologize for the length of what this is going to be, but I think it's good information that you need to know, and I certainly think it's information that our parents are going to want to know before they decide what direction they're going to be going. Okay? So for phase 2, any other comments? If not, we're going to move to phase 3. The state guidelines for phase 3 for bus operation is 75% of manufacturer's capacity. So we're adding about 4, 5, 6 more kids. Maximum group size is no more than 50 people, including a teacher staff member in a classroom. We're not going to be having that many people in a regular classroom, but that very well could be the case for the gym, for the cafeteria, for auditoriums, for things like that. And there's a whole different set of rules if it's considered an event center. Like our auditoriums might be an event center. Our gyms could be an event center, so it gives you more flexibility within those. Frequent hand washing has not changed. Face coverings have not changed. Symptom monitoring has not changed. But athletics in phase 3 has changed. And it says that contact high-risk sports are allowable within defined groups. And so you see what the defined group is, 50, including whatever coaches you might have or sponsors you might have, whether it's cheerleaders, drill team, football, band, what have you. And so that's why they have that out there. So let's look at what phase 3 would look like for Ouachita Parish. Our goal for phase 3 is to serve all of our students, pre-K through 12th grades, in our buildings as frequently as possible. Elementary students, grades pre-K through 5, will remain in static groups to the greatest extent possible. Middle school students, grades 6 through 8, and high school students, 9 through 12, will follow the 6 feet social distancing to the greatest extent possible. Face coverings will be required throughout the day for 3rd through 12th grade and all adults on campus. In high traffic areas, while within less than 6 feet of others, and during transition times throughout the day and exiting schools is when we certainly are going to be emphasizing the wearing of the mask. We will encourage the good hygiene, the washing the hands, using hand sanitizers and things like that. I've told you already that in phase 3, our high schools will be continuing with that block or modified block. So we're looking at 4 times of transition as opposed to 7. Attendance will be taken on a face-to-face basis. 75% maximum school capacity, including adults on the bus, will be followed. Lunch is going to be very similar. It's just going to be all of your kids there more, so we're going to have to, the transition time, once we get all of our kids back, is going to be more than what we would normally have, and we know that. And so what I have asked, and parents, I need you to be aware of this also, and everyone, that we're probably going to be asking all of our schools to add 15 minutes to their school day. If you need to use some of that for transition, that's fine. But if you could use it for instruction, that is preferred. This can help make up a week and a half to 2 weeks of missed instruction from this past year to what we're looking at now. So instead of schools actually being released at 3 o'clock or 2:50 or 3:05 or what have you, you can add 15 minutes on to that. And so for our parents that we're asking to come and pick students up if you drop them off, I'm hoping that will help them more so in their job capacity too, to where it's going to be a little bit later dismissal than we normally would have. So that is what we're planning on. Schools are working on trying to alter their schedules and adjust what they need to adjust for that. In elementary, we will continue to follow our static groups as much as we possibly can. We'll be cleaning and sanitizing between any change of class. Temperatures, again, will be checked. And the last bullet that I have on that information there is for all of our people. We certainly encourage, and we want our parents to be a part of our school and be a part of their child's education, but we also want safety. And so, we're asking our parents, don't go and buy lunch and bring it to your child during the middle of the day. These are some little things. If you want to send lunch with them, that is fine. You're more than welcome. But we're trying to keep as many of our visitors and guests out as possible for safety reasons until there's a vaccine and we can go back to somewhat of a normal schedule. So although the requirements for face coverings remains the same for all three phases, we do strongly encourage our parents, when you do have to come in and you have to come into the office, if they would also please be wearing some type of face covering, as they come in to where there's any type of larger group. I know our back-to-school parent meetings and things like that may look a little bit different than what they've looked like in the past. In the past, we've had maybe 100, 150 that may come in at one time. Well, now if we're in phase 3, if we're in phase 2, we still have that 25% our numbers that can come in. Phase 3 is 50. And so we've asked our principals to kind of be working around that so that we can keep our parents certainly safe and also informed on how we're going to do our back to school. Not knowing the exact phase that we're going to be in, we do have some plans. These are fluid. I've said that about 3 or 4 times now. They very well can change even from now until when we start school. But this is our initial guidelines on what we're going to try to follow as we get into the beginning of school. So any questions that you might have with phase 3?
How much would it upset the apple cart to do the extension of the day in the morning instead of the afternoon? With parents trying to go to work, lines gonna be out down the street.
I think that's something that our schools, one size don't fit all, so what might work best for one school, if it's starting earlier, they could do that. The only drawback I might see would be the parent coming to pick them up in the afternoon if they started at 7:30, where they normally would start at 7:45, then that dismissal time is going to be a little bit earlier than what it might be. We have many more parents that actually drop students off in the mornings than pick them up, and they rely on the buses to take them home in the afternoons. The problem there is we have a capacity. I can't have 33 coming in the morning on the bus. That 33 needs to go home in the afternoon on the bus because there's not, and that's the unknown. That's what we're going to be working with to make sure that we stay within our capacity on the transportation.
But every school is not gonna have to do the same thing on the drop-off.
Every school will have 15 minutes more to whatever the minimum number of minutes is, but they can arrange it. And I'll tell you, our feeder systems, we're asking our feeder systems to get together and to meet, especially where you have shared transportation. They have got to be on the same page. Sterlington Elementary, Sterlington High School, and Sterlington Middle School share buses. So those 3 administrators will be getting together to make sure, the elementary may start earlier or later, depending on how they adjust their minutes to the day. Other questions?
Doc, I'm afraid to ask one because you're going to cover it down the road, so I'll just leave it to the president.
I'll let you know if I am. Okay, any other questions that you might have? Y'all, this was a lot of work. It was a lot of work by a lot of folks, and is it perfect? No, it is not perfect. But we're not living in a perfect world right now with everything that's going on, and so, we're trying to do the very best that we can do for our students. And so right now staying within the guidelines that have been given us and using some of these best practices that have come down to us. You know, we've put the plan out there. I was telling some of my superintendent friends around North Louisiana, we're the first one to put it out from what I know, and so I'll take the heat, I guess, from what the others are going to be. But I will tell you, in formulating this plan, I have looked at plans that are already out there, many from South Louisiana, many from districts the same size as us. We've been talking back and forth daily with Ouachita Parish, and so this is not going to be too far off from what districts our size are doing across the state of Louisiana. From Ascension Parish to Lafourche Parish to Vermilion Parish to Bossier Parish to St. Bernard Parish to, I've not checked with Rapides, but I'm just telling you, and I have been in conversation with Dr. Vadrine in Monroe City, and certainly I think ours will be mirroring pretty closely what, I'm not going to speak for them, but pretty closely what they're going to be looking at also. All right, any other questions? If not, we're going to move to the other option that will be out there for our parents. And Mr. Pate and who else in here has worked on this plan? Would you like to present this plan to the board? They're tired of hearing me. Why don't you come up here and you be ready to answer questions on this? I have given you a copy of what our Ouachita Parish, we're going to call it the Ouachita Parish VIP plan, and that is for virtual instructional program. So I'm trying to get our terminology together with all of our people within our district. If you hear online distance education, that is referring to phase 1, 2, 3. If you hear the word virtual instructional program, that is referring to this 100% online option that is out there that will be staffed and taught by teachers from Ouachita Parish, and they will be going, it will be a virtual, it will be online, and it will be every day because attendance will be checked. They will have their same teacher each day, and these teachers will be reporting back to whatever school these students are zoned for. So it is very possible in our virtual instructional program that a student may be at Richwood Middle School, but a teacher that is designated at, why don't we say Sterlington Middle School, may be teaching those students. And it may be kids from, you know, if we have 20 kids in 6th grade that elect to do virtual, I'll have one teacher teaching those kids throughout the entire parish. But the scores and the grades go to the zone school for where that child resides. Okay? So Curtis and the task force that put this together, I'm going to tell you, they did something in 2 weeks that I did not think could actually be done. But, well, I knew it could be because we got that good of people. But this is what we're calling our student handbook for our virtual program. And so, Curtis, if you will just take a few minutes and go through this with them, we'll answer what questions you might have after that.
All right, as Dr. Coker said, this would be a 100% online, so we're calling it the virtual model. Our goal is that they enroll in this for the year. But we realize that when people enroll in something virtual that they've never been before, they may think virtual will work for them, but when they get into it and realize that maybe it's not going to work, you'll notice the last bullet on the cover page, we've put something there that if we see that it's not in the best interest of the child, if that child stay in the virtual program, then the parent can request a meeting with the program coordinator or the director, and we will look at putting that child back into a school setting if we need to do that. We'd like to do whatever's best, of course, for the student, and we are asking that they stay in it for at least 9 weeks. We don't really want to see a flip-flop back and forth, in virtual and back at the school and back at the virtual, so we're asking that they stay in it at least 9 weeks. But we don't want to keep a child in it so long that we feel like he's sunk for the year if he's not passing or doing very well. And we don't want them to get that far behind either. We'd rather have them back into the school. Then the next page is the table of contents, and then the overview on page 3 just kind of gives a quick overview of what Dr. Coker just mentioned in his introduction. We've tried to mimic pretty much a handbook that you would see at a school, because this is going to be an extension of the school. As Dr. Coker said, you're not enrolled in this virtual school, you're enrolled in a virtual program, which is an extension of the school where that child would be zoned. So we're listing parent expectations, because the expectations for a parent in a virtual program or the student in a virtual program is somewhat different than what it would be maybe if they were at school. We're requiring that elementary students in this virtual program have a learning coach. We do not want to see a kindergarten through 5th grade child at home trying to work on lessons by himself or
Right,
herself. So
right.
we're requiring a learning coach that would pretty much be there quite frequently with that kid, with that student. And so we're listing some inappropriate behaviors. Again, when we start talking about behaviors, there are different behaviors when you're dealing with a virtual school than when a kid's in a classroom. So we're trying to make sure that we cover everything with behaviors that we have to address with a child online and in a Google Meet session with the teacher. So we've listed examples of inappropriate behavior, the resulting disciplines that will come from that. We're also going to, when we talk about discipline and when we talk about problems, if you look over on page 5, we start talking about attendance. Those students are going to have to attend these Google Meet sessions with the teacher. And if they miss a Google Meet session, it's like missing a class period. So we're going to be taking attendance. And so we've got we've got it pretty much laid out here, who you will meet with if you're missing some sessions, if you're missing assignments and you've not turned in assignments, then we want that parent to have to speak with the principal of the zone school. And then it'll go from there, if it's not resolved, into dealing with either the program coordinator of the virtual school, or possibly even when it gets to certain points, it'll go to the director of child welfare and attendance, just like we send them as a principal if they're missing too much school or truant. They can be truant in virtual school too. If you're not logging on when you're supposed to be logging on, then you're truant. So we have all that laid out. We have excused absences, unexcused absences, what that would look like. Then we move over on page 7 to our curriculum. We've listed the curriculum that will be used in pre-K through 8 is pretty much standard in what we will be offering. When you start getting into grades 9 through 12, then those courses, of course, are going to vary. You may be taking a chemistry course, you may be taking an advanced math course, a trig course, a calculus course. So it depends on what grade you're in, sometimes as to what course you will take. So we just made sure that we put varies by course, and then we will discuss all that with the parent as to what that child's curriculum will be if they decide to join the VIP. Our grades and promotions, if they get credit for this, that will transfer back to the school. I just took a call probably about 11 o'clock today from a parent that called me that was ready to homeschool her child. I'm just going to go ahead and take my child out and homeschool them, and I've already registered with the state. I need to know, am I cleared with Ouachita Parish? So I just talked her through it a minute and told her that Dr. Coker would be having a board meeting today, that if the board approved our plan, to just give it time and her go on and look at the plan before she makes her decision to homeschool. And the point I made to her was, if you pull out and drop from Ouachita Parish and homeschool a child, and she made it clear to me that it was strictly due to the COVID stuff, that this is a first grade child that would be in first grade this fall. She doesn't intend for that kid to be homeschooled from now on. And I explained to her, well, you pull a child out of our school system and homeschool that child, I don't know what goes on when homeschooling is taking place at home. But when you bring that child back next year and you expect us to put her in second grade, she's going to take a placement test. And if she's not where a second grader should be, she may not go to second grade. And if you were to enroll her in our virtual school, if your goal is to keep her at home because she's got health issues, she would be getting instruction from a certified teacher. She would be getting the curriculum that our students are getting. And if she passes and does her assignments, then if you decide to bring her back to that school next fall, she would be a second grader. We don't worry about testing her because she went through our program and she said, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I called you, and I will wait to hear what your plan is afternoon today." So I don't think that's the only parent out there that's had that concern. So our goal is to keep them in our school system, and this is one way to do that. So if they pass and do the assignments, just like the kids that are at that brick and mortar school, they will promote on up to the next grade and so forth. We're also taking care of our students with disabilities on page 9, making sure that the parents realize that they are still going to have to participate in all the state and district mandated tests. Any test that the state requires, we're going to make sure that those students get it in the VIP as well. And then we just listed some definitions because I don't know if Dr. Coker got into asynchronous and synchronous and all that, but we've all learned some new terminology going through this. And if we're parents that don't talk this language, then we listed some definitions of what we mean by asynchronous and what we mean by Google Classroom and Google Forms and Google Meet. And we will have hyperlinks that are in this policy that will be posted on our website, and those hyperlinks will, all the parents will have to do, because they'll do all this online. They'll register their child online. If they're going to be in a virtual program, then it just stands to reason we'd be doing this online. They'll click on those policies down there, and all of that will pop up online for them to see and answer, and even the contracts, the student contracts, which you will see on the last page, the front and back, are the parent contract and the student contract. All that can be online, will be online as well, and it'll be signed electronically. And then right before you get to the contracts, we just listed some things that we figure would help some parents and students with video conferencing. Before you get on the video conference, here's some things you need to look at doing during the time you're on the video conferencing, and then after you finish these video conferences that your child will be on, some tips and points with that. So that's basically the program that we're offering for them.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Let me give you a little bit more information as far as timing on this, okay? So we are looking, and this I would certainly want your approval on, but we are looking to put this on our website and for registration purposes today is what we're looking to try to do, because we have to staff according to how many students are going to sign up for this VIP program, okay? So the registration will begin next Wednesday. That is July the 15th, and will go through July 24th. July 15th through July 24th is registration for any parents that want to enroll their student in this virtual instructional program. When we know how many students we have, then we know how many teachers we'll have to staff it. And so we will be looking at teachers that are high risk, in high risk category of being able to actually return back to a face-to-face classroom, and then we'll try to match some of those teachers to being able to do our virtual instructional program. So we have a teacher survey, staff survey out right now to see where they are, to where they fall. We're trying to get this information out. Parents will have 10 days to go through, read everything on the handbook, look at everything that we've put out there. If they have questions, they can call their schools or call up here and ask questions, and we'll certainly try to answer any questions that they might have. But this is a handbook like we put out at schools. When children start their school year, they're going to have their handbook, and this is one that we formulated strictly for this. The advantage here is the fact that we are using Ouachita Parish teachers to run this program, to teach this program, and to have that virtual experience every day. And so we will be asking our parents who commit to this. We'll have a mandatory parent orientation, and the reason for that is to make sure that parents understand and students understand what Google Classroom is, what Google Meets is, and a priority for students in our district that will go this route will be giving them a Chromebook in order for them to be able to, as needed, to be able to actually participate in this program. And so it would be up to the parents to make sure they have the connectivity to be able to do it. I'm not sure that we're there right now within our parish to furnish or provide the connectivity, but I know that we're working toward that means. But right now for this school, they would have to have the connectivity. If they did not have the device, then we would certainly try to furnish them with the device. So pretty much a explanation of what our virtual instructional program will look like. Questions that you might have?
When you say connectivity, are you meaning their
Internet accessibility.
Their reliable accessibility?
Right. Right.
If they don't have it, it's not much.
It would be really hard to do the virtual program if you did not have that.
Let me just say, I was trying to follow along as you made your presentation. I want to just commend Dr. Coker and the staff for putting all this together. I know that we're working against the clock for the most part. I can appreciate that. But let me just say this. I told Dr. Coker earlier today that one of the things I like to do is chew before I swallow. And I like to be able to get information a little earlier so that I can read it and try to peruse it for the most part rather than just read it and understand it better. I can appreciate the phrase that's been used today several times, that one size does not fit all. And my thing is that I want to make sure that whenever I'm voting on something that's going to either be policy or procedure, that I've had enough time to study it well so that I can feel comfortable in supporting it or not supporting it. Not that I believe that it's offensive or anything. I trust people. I just don't trust me. And so having said that, there were 2 or 3 things I made notes of in here. And that is, one, and I'm doing the best I can to keep up. I ran track, but I wasn't the best track runner. But that's an area where you said parents are required, for those who opt to allow their kids to do virtual, they are required to participate in conferences and class meeting with them.
Are you talking about as a coach
No,
to be there, or the orientation?
Well, yeah, we're talking about the health experience or working relationship between students and parents, and that their parent is required to participate in the conferences and class
Can you
meetings.
tell me what page you're on?
Parent expectations.
Parent expectations?
That's
Which
page
bullet?
3. Page 3. That's going to be bullet number 2.
Okay. That part there is more specifically addressed over in the tardiness and the behavior, that if there is a situation and they've gotten to past the warning and past the second
Right.
infraction, that if it comes time that you have to have a meeting with an adult or guardian concerning the child's behavior, that's where they would be required to attend the meeting.
Correct.
With
Okay,
middle
so-
and high school students, we talked with our middle and high school principals, and they're not necessarily requiring that learning coach at that age, at the middle and high. But the elementary is, But when you see that about the parent expectations, that would mean any important conferences to discuss why your child is not logging on, or why your child's tardy, why is he tardy to getting to the sessions, or he's not turning in his assignments. That's the conferences we're saying that the parent or guardian would have to attend so that we can work that problem out.
Right, right. I appreciate that. Now, that parent in the same area under the fifth bullet,
Yes, sir.
it says that parents should understand students will need a learning coach. Excuse me. And that's something that I spoke with my daughter about just yesterday, because she has a child that's going to the first grade and another one going to the third grade. And we're trying to make a decision whether or not the kid goes back into the school, or whether the kid does virtual learning or homeschooled. And I appreciate you made something clear today that I can pass on to her, that parent or designee, and I'm afraid that there may be a parent and that says, I want to do homeschooling, I want to do this, opt to do this program. I'm going to be, they opt to be the coach. I don't want to sound, but they may not even have the ability. But yet, and they're going to choose to be the coach. And as you stated, then the next year, they want their kid to go from first grade to second grade. Even though we've made it abundantly clear, you got to take a placement test. If that kid does not fare well on that placement test, that child perhaps has to stay in the first grade.
That's if they do the homeschooling option and not the
Right,
BIP
not the
option.
BIP. If they're in the BIP, then they're coming through our program.
And one major thing I can see that might help clear this up or address this with you is in a homeschooling situation, we don't have that child sitting in front of a certified teacher that's in Ouachita Parish. We don't know if he or she is sitting in front of anybody. Like you're saying, I hear your concern is we don't even know if that parent's really capable of homeschooling that child. The difference is, in a homeschooling situation, they're not online with one of our teachers. In this situation, they're going to be online with one of our teachers, and they'll be taking tests as the teacher gives tests any other time. We would be seeing how that child is progressing along, and then we would do progress monitoring checks and conference with that parent and say, you know, we're just not sure that this virtual part is working out for you.
Thank you.
And at that time, that's when, after that 9-week period, we would sit down and say, can we have a meeting and decide if it might be best if you bring your child and transfer them back into that school?
I like that. I like that. I appreciate that. And that's what I wanted to hear, is that we do have something in place.
We do.
That we notice that the child is in, even if it's a homeschool setting, or even with this area, that we are monitoring that child, and we will.
Well, now, we can't monitor a homeschooling situation, but we can monitor this.
Okay.
The homeschool is completely out of our hands.
Thank you.
That's
Right.
what the parent asked me today. I just want to know what I need to do on your end at Ouachita Parish to be able to homeschool. What is my next step? And I said, well, if you're truly going to homeschool and you've gotten that okay from the state and you've registered with the state, this is exactly what I told her. Grab you a curriculum and get busy.
I said,
And then she said,
to my
well,
daughter.
so it's up to me? I said, yes, ma'am, it's up to you. Once you drop from a Ouachita Parish school and decide you're going to homeschool, it's up to you. We're no
100%.
longer
It's
involved.
100% up to them.
But now this, we're going to still have our hands in this
Thank you.
as certified teachers and principals.
Under tardies, I think this is going to be related to the conference with the parent, and this probably be my last question, is that the fifth tardy, a zone school administrator
Yes, sir.
will, and the program coordinator will confer with the parent and the student's continuing enrollment, and to evaluate the student continuing enrollment in the VIP. So I guess the alternative would be, if we find that that child is not faring well in this program, then the recommendation is that they would go back into.
They come back into the brick and mortar school of the zone school that they're in.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pate. Any other questions that you might have concerning our virtual instructional program?
How will this affect, like, depends on which phase we're in, any extracurricular.
This has nothing to do with phases. It's strictly on its own. It's separate and apart from the phases. But our students that would participate in this program would still be eligible for, based on what we're seeing through LHSAA, if they say, and they're talented in music or they're talented in sports, athletics, whatever, they would still be part of their zone school, but they would have to provide the transportation for whatever period, say they wanted to be in band, whatever period that band was, they would have to be there. It would be hard to do a virtual band with the marching people going on out here doing that, and they're watching it
That's my
at
question.
home. Yes. But would they be part of it? Yes.
Theater, depending on which phase we're in, if that's even happening.
But that parent, like Coker, but that parent would have to provide.
They would be responsible for the transportation to and from. Right.
Understanding beats all. Yeah.
Any more questions for the board? We need a motion and a second to approve this back-to-school phase plan and the distance learning virtual school option. Any motion and a second?
I'll make the motion, we approve the plan as presented by Dr. Coker.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? Any more discussion from the board?
No discussion, I just said, I'm gonna.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Coker. That's been a deep report, I'm telling you. It's been-
And again, I apologize for the time that this has taken, but I think it's that important that, you know, that our folks will want to know, and certainly y'all need to know where we're going, what direction. I will tell you that I will be doing a call out to all of our parents. This is a robo call out on Friday of this week, and letting them know that we have all of this stuff posted. It's out there. Please go on and start looking and start preparing and planning for, and that's going to give them a month to get ready to be able to get their children back in school. And so thank y'all for your support on this.
Moving down to item number 3, recommendation from the Finance Committee report, property insurance, Mr. Todd Guy. Ms. Meekins, you're gonna take Mr. Geis's place.
I'm going to take Mr. Geis's place. I'll probably use a few more words than he would.
Okay.
Numerous, anyway.
No.
We got him on the screen.
There he is.
There he is.
The Finance Committee met July the 1st, and the only item on the agenda was the consideration of school property insurance, as it's time to renew our property insurance for the upcoming fiscal year. As you remember last year, when we went through this process, what we had requested from our insurance agent was that they bring us plenty of options to choose from as the market seems to be hardening up, which means our premiums are going up, our coverages are changing. So that's exactly what they did, and we went through all of those options with the Finance Committee. They brought us 6 different options, and the Finance Committee reviewed all of those, and on recommendation by myself and Dr. Coker, chose to recommend option 1. Option 1 is a mirror image of the coverage we currently have for the fiscal year that just ended, with a 13% increase in premium for the upcoming year. The only change is basically in the previous year, we had a combined communicable disease coverage of $100,000, and this year, across the board, not just for us, but for entities around the country, that coverage was reduced down to $1,000, which with the current environment, you can understand that insurance companies are making those adjustments. So, are there any
We need a motion and a second.
questions?
To pass this Finance Committee report. Mr. Makers.
I move that we approve the option one from FM Global for our next year's insurance coverage for Ouachita Parish School System.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion from the audience?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
On the board.
We're about to vote on, what am I voting on?
This is a renewal of,
Which
it is
one?
item number
This sheet.
3
This right here.
with the Finance Committee report. The Finance, as you see it, in the item number 1, the Finance Committee was presented with 6 options for consideration and recommends the school board going with option 1, and they were just, listed by number so we could, in discussion, tell them apart. But basically, option 1 mirrors our current coverage with a slight increase in premium.
I don't think we got the options in our handout.
No.
Oh, it's on,
Yeah.
okay.
I have a handout with all of the options.
I don't think we've got that.
I was gonna ask.
Since I was on the finance committee, I was aware of it, so.
Yeah,
Right.
if it's possible that, I'm just saying for me, if I could get some stuff in my packet when I get it, so I can go over it earlier,
Yeah.
that'll help me a lot.
See, and I had grabbed copies of these. I didn't realize that they were not in the packet.
See, option 3. Option 1. Okay, I see it, Greg, I see it.
And the finance committee had lengthy discussions on all these options, and Kevin Wood with Gallagher made some great presentation to us, and after lengthy discussion, we decided to go with option 1 because we thought that gave us the best coverage for the premium at that time. And
Right.
the committee was unanimous in voting for option 1 for the next year's insurance coverage, so.
Right, and what we had asked them for last year were just some different options, and they really went above and beyond. They worked on this for several months to be able to bring us some options so we could really see where the market was on our insurance coverage. And what we saw with the options available is that FM Global, who is our current carrier, really still has the best coverage for the best premium available to us,
Yes.
as we were able to find.
Even though, even though our premium went up another,
Right, the premium did go up,
Another
13.6%. Right, but given the state of the market right now, FM Global actually did not offer to renew policies on many entities, and, they not only offered to renew our policy, but with a minimum increase in premium, so we were happy with that.
They started working on this, if I heard right, last August, and it took this long to get the packet together.
wow.
Any more discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
No? Motion carries. Moving down to item number 4, consider the next uninsured motorist liability insurance coverage. Dr. Coker.
With the uninsured motorist liability, you don't have anything in front of you, but basically, I don't have anything in my hands to give you either, but basically, the board has to accept or reject whenever we renew our policy at each year end. You all have to accept or reject uninsured motorist. Typically, it is rejected as we don't feel it's beneficial for us to pay that premium for the coverage it would provide.
We have a motion and a second to reject the uninsured motorist liability insurance coverage.
So move.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 5, financial report for May 31st. Ms. Mickens.
You have your financial report from May 31st in your binders, in your folders. And I'll keep this short and sweet as we discussed it at length last month with the renewal of our budget. At that point, we're just working towards closing out our fiscal year, preparing payrolls for the remaining accrued wages going into the end of our fiscal year. So those are going to be the main items that you see being spent at this time. So if you'll notice on page 1, at the end of May 31st, 2020, the general fund ending fund balance is $39,205,000. The District 1 fund balance, we're ending the May period with $19,256,000. And with general fund, I would point out, as with a lot of funds in which wages are paid out of, we've gotten to the end of the year, so the big change that you're going to see between May and June, and the reason May's fund balance is still quite high, is that we run all of the accrual payrolls in June. So you'll notice with the budgeted fund balance, we're still quite a ways off of it, given that those payrolls will be run, and you'll see at the end of June where they'll come back in line. As we had discussed in the prior months, I know we continue to watch sales tax revenues, finishing out the third, fourth, and fifth columns on the first page with the sales tax funds. We continue to watch sales tax revenues. While we have seen a little bit of a decrease in collections for the current months as compared to prior years in the same months, we are not seeing an overall decrease in our yearly revenue. So we will continue to watch that as we go into the upcoming fiscal year. Page 2, you have child nutrition, our grant funds, our special revenue funds, and our internal service funds. As we had discussed last month, whenever we revised the budget, you'll see that child nutrition does have a deficiency for the year, or will end the year with a deficiency, sorry. And then if you look all the way to the back, I'm not going to read the whole report to you. If you look all the way to the back on the general fund and the school district number 1, you'll see the running totals on the fund balance and the running totals for the year for the past 3 years on the year-to-date accumulated excess and deficiencies. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we are now as compared to where we were for the past 2 years. And you'll kind of see what I was talking about with the accrued wages and how the fund balance really comes back in line at the end of June after all of those wages are accrued.
So if I'm looking at this right, Regina, our general fund balance at the end of June, we're anticipating being $21,218,000.
Yes.
Then the M&O at $18,352,000.
Yes, sir. And if you'll notice, the general fund currently at the end of May was at $39,205,000. That's because basically 90% of our expenditures are salary and benefits. So with having those 3 months of wages, it's basically sitting in our fund balance waiting to be paid in June.
And those would include which check is that?
Those are the
June, July, August.
June, July, and August accrued wages for teachers where they're paid over a 12-month period.
Right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the financial report, May 31st, 2020.
I so move that we approve the financial report, May 31, 2020.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, consider new sound system at Sterlington High School funded with the East Side bonds. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Hicks, board members, not sure if this is in your packets, but it was in your mail out. I don't know if you're all aware of it or not, but when we had the tornado come through Sterlington, it basically wiped out the sound system in the football stadium, blew out the windows in the press box, toppled over one of the light poles that had 2 speakers on it. So I'm asking you today that we use the East Side bonds to replace that sound system. The price of that would be $27,495.
Okay. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the new sound system at Sterlington High School funded with East Side bonds?
I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board?
Question is, why do we elect to use the East Side bonds?
Most of that was due to the fact that we actually upgraded from the system that was there before. The system that was there previous really did not have a lot of horsepower. I think anybody that's been to a game there has understood that. So the principal of the school asked if we could increase it since we were replacing it. And that's the main reason why we're asking for the East Side bonds to cover this.
Okay, but could we have used general fund?
General fund typically only covers the actual replacement of like to like.
Okay.
The issue came in that there was an upgrade.
Part of that is going to be the relocation of those speakers also. We're thinking the speakers had actually been put on the light pole that actually went down. And so we're actually going to have to, and I don't know if that's in this agenda or not, but we're going to be looking at the replacement of the light pole also, which is a whole lot more than a speaker system.
I forgot about that part, but that did contribute possibly to, so that is part of the cost that we're having to.
They're going to have to be relocated back on the scoreboard, is my understanding, and not put back on any light structures. Stephen, I know that you've been working with this quite a bit.
You know, I don't want to keep repeating the same thing over and over. You know, I just like to have something to look at before I get to the board meeting.
This document should have been in your packet that was mailed out. It may not be in your packet now.
It is.
But it should have been in your mail out that was sent last week.
It was?
Supposed to have been.
Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 7, consider curtains at Ouachita High School funded with East Side bonds. Mr. Bobby Jones?
Yes, Mr. Hicks, board members, this request actually came through the school that there was some curtains that were being replaced, and instead of expending the school funds for this, they requested this come through the East Side bonds as well.
Do you have a amount of money on it?
Yes, sir, it's $12,995.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to order these curtains.
I make a motion that we approve the curtains of Ouachita High School.
A second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs.
Approval of 2 energy right-of-way agreements, Mr. Slusher?
Yes, sir, Mr. Hicks, board members, you should have in your folder actually 2 requests from the Institute. The first one is the one that was tabled at the last board meeting, the right-of-way adjacent to the Benwick Road in West Monroe, West Ouachita Parish. I think Mr. Wagner had gone and looked at it and didn't have a problem with the request that David Energy was making. And I just present that to you again for consideration.
Okay. You got 2 of them. You gonna do them both the same or you?
I'd like to have them separate.
Okay, all right. So So we need a motion and a second, the right-of-way agreement in Long Wall Road.
No, sir, on the Ben Lake Road.
Oh, Ben Wink?
Yes.
Okay, Ben Wink Road, that's number one. We have a motion and a second.
On which road we're doing?
Ben
Benwink? Yeah.
Ben Wink.
I move we, as presented here.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay.
Like to take them separate districts because one in Sterlington, the next one is a little bit more involved. Sterlington had put the poles and lights from Lone Water Road up to Keystone Road, or was intended to. And they got to a certain point and they approached us about doing an underground run that actually go underneath the road, the parking lot, and come up to a telephone pole that's right in front of the school now. And it'd all be underground, from what I understand. Dr. Coker and I met out there, it'd be 15 to 20 foot underground. And they asked for that right away, and then another one on the section that you can see at the very end, or close to the very end of Panther Drive. They asked for a small right of way to go across Panther Drive, across the ditch and right on, kind of on the edge of the ditch, about 6 feet from the ditch. They wanted to put a pole, which, as I understood, would be kind of like a security pole that, from the light poles that are on the other side of Panther Drive. One of them would tie into this one, and with like guy wires or whatever, and just stabilize the poles that they've already put up on the east side of Panther Drive.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, but I'd like.
It's underground too in the county.
It's over,
It's underground too.
No, that would be above ground.
that's going to be more for stabilization is what we're trying to do, to stabilize all those lines. And I don't know if y'all have been out there or not, but they have run a lot of lines down Panther Lane on the other side of the road. And that's to come across to stabilize that end. Now, the closest to, as Kenneth has said, closest to where the sign is for Sterlington, all that's going to be underground, under the road, because we asked Mr. McElroy, is that who we was talking to? Who were we talking to with that? Anyway, he said it's going to be deep because we had sign and electricity run out there to the sign, and he said it'll be 15 to 25 feet deep that they're running this.
So they will be boring under.
Boring under all of
Won't be
it.
a tear up of Panther Drive.
Should not be.
Road and under the parking lot.
That's
Boring
right.
all the way.
That's right.
And the only poles that will be supporting the guide wires here on the diagram would be, looks like on the property line on the east side of
That's it.
Panther, is that correct?
Center
Not-
field
not on the west
fence
side.
closest to the road.
So it will be
West side of Panther Drive.
on the west side of Panther
Right.
Drive, next to the ditch,
Right.
right next to the ditch.
There's a big metal box out there now that's already there, and it's gonna be real close to it.
And that'll support the poles on the east side that they already got up.
That's correct.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
I don't think we ever had a motion, did we?
Nope.
No, we did.
Oh.
We did on the first one, we did on this one.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to accept the long wall pipeline.
I so moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Discussion from the audience. Any more discussion from the board?
Ken, you have any idea when they're gonna start on this and when it might finish?
He indicated they just about have all the poles up. I don't think they started running the wire yet, but, probably been pretty quick. And we did talk to Jason, the principal, and he didn't have a problem with it.
Because they're gonna be responsible, I know they're gonna bore on the road, and they're gonna put underground cable on our property. They'll be responsible for dressing that property up and getting it back like it was prior to the digging, right?
Yeah, the first part
They put them
would be
together.
on their side,
They didn't know that before.
right away they have from Johnson, and then
That's what
only
does
thing
up
they'd
there,
have to cover up
too.
is right where it
I
comes
thought he was
up
gonna take them
out of the
together.
ground,
I did
right there
too.
by the pole in front.
Any more discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. In the future, though, if you will, let's put, these items separately. We got two, and we're gonna separate them. I need to know that because we need to bid on it, put it out there for vote on each separate item, and I don't know that if it just says two on here.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Hicks, I'll take care of that.
Well, no, it's no big problem, but, that's something I just need to know, really.
Well, there's one on the west side, one on the east side, and I thought it might be better to split it up.
Oh, it would, yes, no doubt, but it's got two on here
Right.
that we voting on,
Right.
not just one. Okay. Moving down to item number 9, replace storm damaged light pole at Sterlington High School. Mr. Slusher?
Yes, this was, the light pole that was, knocked over by when the tornado come through Sterlington. We got 3 quotes on replacing that pole. Or attempted to get 3 quotes. 2 of them were unresponsive. One of them just didn't respond at all. The other one, just came back with a total price, not saying what was gonna be done with that price. If you have 2 there from Bannister Electric or Energy Solutions. The first one is, the scope of the work is replacing damaged pole and lights with a Musco 100-foot pole and, with a 4 to 6 week delivery. And the cost on it was $101,000. The, second scope of the work was, replacing the damaged pole, with a Valmont galvanized steel pole with a 16 to 18 week delivery, and that cost was $86,000. So whichever proposal y'all would like to accept, I'll present that to you to replace that damaged pole.
Well, can we wait 16 to 18?
From a time element standpoint, I think it's best for us to go ahead and get the Musgrove pole for 4 to 6 week delivery, especially from football season right on us.
Yeah.
If we're able to have football in phase 3. So, that'd be my recommendation that we go with, the $101,000 from Bannister, from a time, Musco 100-foot galvanized steel pole. Hopefully we can get it here in 4 weeks, sooner the better.
I talked to Jason, and he said, I think the first ball game was like the first week of September. So we have, 4 weeks in August and still have 2 or 3 weeks here left in July. So they're thinking they could get it up in, before the first football game. And that also includes adjusting the lights, on the other poles, and replacing any that was damaged.
That'd be great.
Are they gonna hook the speakers up to this pole?
They're gonna be on the scoreboard.
No, so that was part of, we're not gonna be able to put speakers back on.
What's the funds on
There'll
this?
be no speakers on these poles.
They'll be on the scoreboard.
So, are you recommending?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the, proposal by Bannister, to purchase the 100-foot Musco pole for $101,000 with delivery in 4 to 6 weeks for the Sterlington High School football field.
Okay,
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board?
Question is, now, where would these funds be dispersed from?
Huh?
Where would these funds?
M&O, I think, is what this is coming out of.
maintenance
Isn't
and
it?
operation.
Yeah, all the storm damage has come out of M&O.
M&O.
At Sterlington.
Any more discussion?
I'm just asking, because, I don't know. I need to know.
Sure.
As I told Dr. Coker this morning, the only bad question is the one that wasn't asked. I don't want to go home saying, I should have asked the question. I just need to know. I'm new around here.
You don't have to raise your hand, man, just ask it.
No. I don't want it to seem as if, that's a bad question.
No, it ain't
I
a
just
bad
need to know what fund it comes from.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't know.
That's a good
That's a
question.
good question.
Oh, I'm not embarrassed to ask a question.
I know you're not.
I'm embarrassed not to ask them. I just wanted to know what money it comes out of.
Sure, that's good, good one. All right, any more discussion from the board?
I think we had around, Bobby, correct me, what is $150,000 damage on that storm at Sterlington High School, and we decided that we were gonna take it out of M&O as a result, since it was not covered under insurance. Isn't that kind of what we discussed?
The insurance did not cover it. That is
Right,
correct.
it was $150,000, wasn't it? And part of that, 150 includes this pole, right?
It would have included that part.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we were actually hoping that, FEMA, there'd be enough parish-wide to be able to get a 75%. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's what our hope was.
See, once I get on the finance committee or the insurance committee, then I will know, so I won't have to ask so many questions in the board meeting.
Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 10, construction renovation projects update. Mr. Slusher?
Yes, Mr. Hicks, board members, as I guess you know, both of the parking lots are complete. The Edgewood parking lot and the one here by the school board. I say the Edgewood is, the brick pavers that they put down for the parking lot to the west of the gym. The pavers are down, but they hadn't put the grout in yet. That's the only thing I think they like on those two parking lots, and this one over here is finished. In the woodlawn project, we finally got the road situation taken care of. They had the two pads ready to pour the concrete, or form up to pour the concrete. And now that we got the road situation fixed, they should be up and moving real fast on all of the woodlawn project. That's all I have, Mr. Hicks.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for Ken? Okay, moving right along. Item number 11, discussion and approval of the purchase, buy or sale agreement regarding the proposed new Sterlington Middle School. Mr. Manley?
Yeah, I want to kind of bring the board up to date and make a recommendation to the board. We've been looking at several locations for the new Sterlington Middle School, and we've been working with a particular property owner over the last several months. And we're to the point now that we're trying to finalize a buy-sale agreement with that person. We don't have it finalized yet, but we're hoping in the next week or two that we will reach an agreement with that seller and be able to sign a buy-sale agreement. So it'll probably happen before we can have our next board meeting in August. The election for the East Side bond proposal is coming up August the 15th. So we want to try to take care of the buy-sale agreement today. What I like to do, due to the timeliness of the election in August the 15th, so what I'd like to do today, since we're all here and not create another board meeting, is, if the board chooses to do so, is approve Mr. Hicks, our board president, to sign a buy-sale agreement if we are able to reach one in the next week or two, with Elmer working on that with the prospective landowner, so that we can go ahead and get that taken care of and officially document, so that we can bring that before the voters before. I would like to get a sign out on the property to notify and let the voters know exactly where that school location will be. So this is just a technicality of officially taking care of the buy-sale agreement today.
Okay.
So I'd just like to make a motion that we'll go ahead and approve Mr. Hicks to sign any buy-sale agreement that we may reach with the landowner on the sale of property for Sterlington Middle School.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board?
This is continued if the bond issue passes, right?
Oh, yes, all of it be contingent on the bond proposal.
Okay. So he's gonna sign an agreement
Once it's completed,
for how much?
we'll disclose all that once he signs it. Well, we have one
If he
point.
signs it.
It is within budget.
Yes, within
It's in-
budget.
It's
Yes.
within budget of what we had, of
We had-
what the bond proposal was.
We had allocated for land acquisition in Sterlington at 1.2 million, so it'll be close to that figure. Within budget, won't be over it.
Right.
Okay, within budget. So that means that if you sign it, it's binding.
If the bond
If
passes.
the bond passes.
I hope to say when the bond passes.
And win the bond.
I like that thought process.
Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion carries.
Wow.
Ms. May?
Yeah, Ms. May seconded. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So if the bond passes.
Moving down to evaluation of bids.
Yes, Mr. Hicks, I'd like to take the first three, please.
Okay, 1, 2, and 3.
The first one is the new construction of Bowley Elementary. You have a bid tab in front of you, or should have a bid tab in front of you. The budget was $9 million. I'm recommending the low bid of Don Barron for $9,384,000, plus alternate number 1 for $182,000, which is the construction of 2 additional classrooms
Okay,
on the school.
all right. We have a motion and a second to approve Don Barron on this project.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion carries. Item number 2, Ken.
Pinecrest.
Yes.
Next is bid tab on Pinecrest. The budget was $400,000. I'd recommend the low bid of Southern Roofing for $280,000.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Southern Roofing for $280,000.
I move we accept the bid for Southern Roofing for $280,000 for the roof of Pinecrest.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board?
Who is Southern Roofing? Southern,
I'm sorry.
Southern Roofing, who is that?
Who is Southern
Are
Roofing?
they local?
They are.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
look.
they're local. They've done probably 75% of the roof jobs.
I know when I was first appointed to the board, we had a problem with a roofing company and with an architect.
Yeah.
Both out of state. Well, architect was out of state.
I understand,
Now, this was a local architect with a local roof.
but it's not the same roofing company.
No.
No. No. Any more discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
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 Opposed, no? Motion carried. Item number 3.
On the Linville Elementary, our budget again was $400,000. I recommend a low bid of Perry Roofing, $219,650.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for Terry Roofing, for Linville's Roofing.
So move.
Second.
I don't know that, he has never done any work for the parish. I really don't know where they're from.
I think they're out of Bossier.
Bossier.
Out of Bossier, okay. But Ken, question, do the bidders know what our budget is?
Yes, sir.
They know what our budget is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jean.
Again, we've got architects on both these roof jobs, right?
TBA.
that'd be the architect, because I wanna make sure that we're looking at like kind of quality, because there's quite a bit of quality, price difference here on what we budgeted.
Both of them.
Yeah, quite a bit. I want to make sure that the quality is there where it should be based on these proposals, because our budget, and this thing is way below budget.
Well, I made the budget.
I think you did.
Okay.
If I have any. Dr. Coker has the same thing. I made the budget.
Okay.
We had, things presented incorrect. We had like $750,000 in our budget, roofing budget for this year. And I just kind of
Split it out.
split it down the middle between them both of them.
So that means with both of these bids, we'll stay within our budget then.
Right.
We will. Better.
It made me look good because it's so far out of the budget.
Again, I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh, come on now.
Dr. Croker, I think he wants to say that.
Well, I just want to comment on Greg's comment, and just let y'all know, I have worked with Terry's Roofing before. I'm working with him right now on a new roof system at Louisiana Tech University. Both of these roofing contractors are very reputable, and I've worked many, many times with them. And I've talked to both of them about their prices. They feel good about their prices. The drawings were extremely clear, and they were able to bid down to the penny, so. And we will visit the job site regularly, and y'all will get reports, and y'all will know where things are going on, but we will watch them very closely.
You are?
Sir?
You are?
Tim Brandon, I'm sorry. Tim Brandon, TBA Studio Architect.
I hear your name all the time, mate.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you.
Yes, well.
We did get
All I have.
okay, we did get a motion and a second on this project, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving down to item number 4, online marketplace, all funds.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks, board members. We did an RFP for an online marketplace. We received one proposal. It was responsive. It was scored by myself, Mr. Kim Monroe, and Dr. Felicia Murphy. The bidder did get 100% of the points, and so I recommend that we accept the proposal from Amazon for to use as our online marketplace. And again, this will not hinder us in any way of ordering from anybody else. This is not going to push everything toward Amazon. But I have seen an influx of requisitions coming from Amazon, so I did this more to keep us in line legally than anything else.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion and a second for online marketplace using Amazon?
So move.
A second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board?
Bobby, since I seconded that motion, would you elaborate a little bit more on what online marketplace is?
Yes, sir, Mr. Manley. Basically, and again, I have seen an influx of requisitions that come across my desk that are purchasing products from Amazon and other online dealers such as Walmart and anybody else. Basically, you can buy stuff online.
That's what Ouachita School Board is doing.
And we are currently doing that now.
That's right. You seeing those requisitions come across your desk?
Yes, sir. And so, because I saw a spike last year, I felt like it was in the best interest of the school board that we pick someone to be able to do this with. And so I put an RFP together, and I only received one. It was from Amazon. But from this point forward, if I order anything from Amazon, there are no legal issues because we've accepted a proposal from them. So that was the main reason why I did it.
Okay.
Just kind of covering your,
Yes, sir.
I understand.
Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Thank you, board.
Okay. Moving down to item number 5, copy paper.
Yes, sir. In your packet, you should have a list of 43 items that we have on the copy paper bid. This is something that we generate about once a quarter or in some cases maybe twice a quarter. And the items that are in bold print are the ones that were low and responsive. And would like to ask the board to approve those items that are low and responsive on this.
Okay. Do we have a motion and a second for the copy paper? Is that the bold print on economical? Is that the,
Yes, sir, those items that.
Various
they
items.
received. Yes, sir.
okay,
So I actually, most of the ones that actually bid did get something.
okay.
Not all of them, but most.
Right. The economical was the most economical.
For some say.
Them and Jackson, yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second for the copy paper.
Move we accept the copy paper.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any
Second.
discussion from the audience,
Second.
from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Hicks, thank you, board.
Yes, sir. Item number 6, classroom books.
Yes, sir, these are books that were requested from the instructional team in the event that we were going to need to purchase classroom books. These are novels that they're going to need for the second 9 weeks of school. And felt it was in our best interest to put these out for bid versus buying them off the state contract. It worked out very well. Again, we have 25 books here. Those in bold print were low and responsive. So I'd like to ask the board to approve those items that are bold print.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for the classroom books in bold print.
I also move that we approve the classroom books.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? From the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Thank you, board.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Moving down to the permission to bid, we have none. And board, our next meeting will be August 11th at 12 o'clock. Dr. Coker?
Just a reminder that tomorrow night, we actually begin our graduation ceremonies. West Ouachita will be in their stadium tomorrow night at 7:30. Richwood will be in their stadium on Saturday morning at not 6 o'clock, at 10 o'clock. 6 o'clock might be better. At 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Next Tuesday, Ouachita Parish High School will be graduating in their stadium. 7:30, I believe. Sterlington will be Thursday night next week at 7 o'clock. And West Monroe will be next Friday night at 8 o'clock. So unless they've changed their times on me, that's the times that I have been given.
Richwood one time was in Ewing Coliseum, but we changed that to.
Because it is an event center and they would not allow any more than 250 people in, including graduates. So that didn't work.
Would you run them times?
I will.
Mr. Hicks, before we adjourn, I'd like to say something.
I have them on
Okay.
I have them on a thing I'll give you.
Oh, okay, okay.
Me and Mr. Hicks attended a service at West Monroe High School about 2 weeks ago for Phil Calvin. It was very nice. There was a sign up out there farm. A lot of people showed up for him. I check with Phil almost daily. I see him this weekend. He's doing very, very bad. He's not doing good at all. But we had a real nice, he spent 33 years at the same school. That's very unheard of for a coach to stay one school that long. But they had a real nice reception for him.
Yeah, y'all keeping him in your prayers, because he's not doing good. Not doing good at all.
He just retired?
Yes, he just retired.
Did you tell them the meeting date?
Yeah.
He just retired.
What's wrong with it? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
A second.
I will tell y'all, now that it's over, we had over 800 people on YouTube watching the board meeting today.
They was texting me.
That may be a record.
I didn't know we won.